and welcome to Visceral Reactions, your regular stop for irregular amounts of horror. And you know what we say here, the more the horror, the more you should check every part of the house.
Even the places you haven't been before.
Yep, check those too.
Attics, shower curtains, bathrooms,
Closets,
the weird
all of
closet that you can hardly fit a broom closet. You know, a broom in.
Check them. I am Matthew Germanis.
I'm Quinton Williams.
We all have that one relative or friend of the family that makes every holiday get-together a mess. Some can't hold their liquor, or they leave with one of your expensive knives. Others stay in the attic and never leave. But the worst are the ones you can never seem to get off the phone. Bob Clark's Black Christmas and John Carpenter's Halloween take our holiday anxieties at the end of the year and multiply them to disturbingly new heights. Using the two holidays beloved by kids more than any other, these two early entries in the slasher genre show what happens when the kids are not all right, and our year-end seasonal activities are enough to make anyone snap. Far from Hallmark's annual selection of Christmas cheer, these 70s classics will, at the very least, have you sending congrats on surviving until the end cards to your favorite final girl. Well, we have today a pretty classic standard pairing of two movies that go together, like peanut butter and jelly.
I describe this as our most like, oh, well, yeah, of course you would type pairings.
Not for the worse. Definitely. So, I mean, we have to start with Black Christmas because
without Black Christmas, there would be no Halloween.
Exactly. I learned a lot because this was my first time watching.
Mine too.
And no idea that Bob Clark made A Christmas Story. And I wouldn't...
Did he?
Yeah. Like 10 years, like exactly 10 years later. I wouldn't know that because... years ago, I tried watching A Christmas Story, and I fucking hated it.
I never watched it. I know it's that, like channels will do it 24 hours.
I've
never watched it.
I don't want to do that, because the kid in it, I want to hit him. Like, it's... I don't like the feelings that it makes me feel.
Can you imagine with the phone calls, instead of it being what it is, it's like that bully going, oh, you're going to cry about it?
Yeah.
You're going to cry?
Like, I'll just shove you in a locker or something. So Black Christmas has a lot of things in it that I feel like are surprising. Like, it's got this combination of Juliet, Lois Lane, and Dave Bowman.
Yes, goddamn Lois Lane. It's Margot Kidder before she was,
like 5 years before Superman comes out.
Got John Saxon, who has only played police officers in his career.
Only 6 years prior to this movie. Interestingly enough, one of the couples in the film, Jess, and what was the boyfriend's name?
Peter?
Yeah, Peter.
He plays Dave in Space Odyssey, which I was shocked to know.
Yeah, so like both of them, like 6 years prior, are in two of the biggest movies ever. Olivia Hussey is playing Juliet in Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet, and Keira Knightley is Dave Bowman in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And
he looks so different with that long. It's the hair.
It's a terrible wig.
Is it a wig or is it just his?
Yeah, no,
he's not naturally blonde. Oh, okay.
Well, it's just like I don't know if he's ever had his hair that long.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, if it's not a wig, then
he needs to see a barber.
Yeah. So we have this very, very disturbing scenario of Christmas break is coming up. This Canadian university, which it's filmed on location of University of Toronto. A person that breaks into the sorority house and just camps in the attic.
We never see his face.
No, we see an eye and a hand.
Yeah. But his parts of the film, surprisingly enough, are in first person. Yeah. You don't really get that in film.
No, that's one of the many things that Halloween will definitely borrow.
Yep.
So before we get into the movie itself, I promise I'm not going to bring up the Cold War for, for Black Christmas.
Are we going to bring up The Exorcist?
No.
Wow, another one.
Yeah. Wait, actually, yeah, for Halloween. Yeah, for Halloween we can. Because it's like a very... So one of the producers, Erwin Yablans, he wanted to make a movie that would have the effect of The Exorcist. So like not like a direct like this person is doing that.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I think in the first episode I had mentioned that the Tubular Bells
that was a direct influence.
Inspired John Carpenter to do this the score for Halloween.
Yeah. That's another thing, but that's more of like just showing the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
The very immediate legacy just 5 years after The Exorcist, as opposed to guess who did the makeup on this? Dick Smith. Like it's at that point in the late 70s where it's showing that it's inspiring. Mm-hmm. It's at least getting producers to say, I want my horror movie to make $200 million. So the thing that I found the most interesting about Black Christmas, and I really had to... This is a terrible pun, but I really had to scrape the barrel here because it was all of the mentions of Jess getting an abortion. That was fascinating to me because it's not, like typically in a situation like that, the roles are reversed where the boyfriend is like, you're not having that kid, and I'm going to pay for it, and all of these things. And instead, we have Olivia Hussey's character, like right off the bat, just telling Peter, I don't want him. I don't want the child. And so that made me curious, like what was Canadian abortion law all about?
Yeah, because we have to remember this isn't an American film. Yeah, this is a Canadian film.
It's super Canadian.
Canada, known for being a nice place, started the slasher genre, which I think is wonderful.
Oh, it's hilarious. I quickly learned that a lot of Canada's abortion policy at the time in the late 60s are pretty similar to what the U.S. was like, in that you could get one, you just had to prove that the pregnancy was hurting the mother. But here was one thing that was a little different. So in 1968, the prime minister, who is the father of the current prime minister, so this is the original Prime Minister Trudeau, signed into effect this law that granted abortions as long as they were approved by 3 physicians. Not just one. Like you had to, like a woman had to get 3 doctors to pass on this, which could be very difficult, naturally, that there's like an abortion committee that has to say that what you're doing is all right. And if you didn't want to go that route, then you could get one if you could pay for it. But these abortions would cost anywhere from $300 to $1,500, which is crazy.
A college student could not afford that.
Could not afford that, yeah. At this time, what some women were able to do is they were actually able to drive all the way to Berkeley, California, to get an abortion at a clinic for any reason. Like they didn't have to have a reason.
Back alley abortion type deal.
Well, for Berkeley, in Berkeley, like they could go get like a real one, like a
safe one.
Yes, a safe one. Yeah. But the thing was, they would have to get to Berkeley, California, and they're in Canada. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that there was a very similar clinic established in Seattle, Washington. Hell of a lot closer.
Much closer.
But still,
it's still far away if you're living in like Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have that. And then like right before the movie comes out, like a couple of years prior, so there's the equivalent to the for the very left students for a democratic society, which we have here in Canada. They have Students for a Democratic University, and a lot of these, a lot of the female members ended up forming the Vancouver Women's Caucus, or caucus. Yeah, caucus. And they just went around the country, just like providing access and helping young women out, and most importantly, fighting for many years for the legal support, for the legal transition to a country that had better access.
Right.
So this is all that's happening prior to 1974, which makes Jess's situation of finding out that she's pregnant and then telling Peter, and then Peter goes off the fucking rails and destroys a Steinway. No bueno. Please don't. So instead of,
it leaves I don't know what he used, one of those big stand-up ashtrays, or maybe
I think it was
the pole for velvet rope or something.
I think it was
took
that.
It goes bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, and just
because he didn't do good in his recital performance.
Yeah, because he pretty much after Jess tells him, Cara Dell's character is the definition of one note. He's which I think is funny because he's a music student. But the only thing he says is, you can't abort that. You can't abort the child. What about the child? Any iteration of I don't want you to get an abortion. He never provides a reason why she should keep the child.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, and I guess this is one of the ways that the movie makes you think that he's the killer,
right,
but it's not him, because somebody explicitly says, well, it couldn't be him because he was there when a call was made, is one of the things that the killer is saying on the phone is, what is it? You can't...
Well, he was repeating the conversation that they were having because he was eavesdropping in the attic.
There's this very disturbing backstory-ish.
Yeah, about Billy and Agnes.
Yeah.
Which
all the voices, the conflicting voices.
I will say this right away. The voices on the phone are terrifying. It's probably the scariest part of the film, because what type of human being are making these noises and these voices, and they're almost happening at once?
Yeah.
And you're just if you heard that in real life, someone actually picks up calls you, you'd be like, I'm frozen in fear. This is terrifying.
Yeah, because it gets worse. Because in the beginning, the reaction of the sorority girls,
jovial, because he's talk about I'm gonna lick you.
Yeah, it's very okay, yeah, we've heard this, or oh, you've called before, and it's. But then it starts getting really...
It starts getting bad at the end of that first one where Margot... I was about to say Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Kidder...
Starts egging him on.
Yeah, and then he very coldly but very...
He's I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, just...
Yeah.
No...
Yeah, really
no
weird.
emotion.
Yeah. It takes a while for the action to happen.
It happens in the first 10 minutes.
With the... Well... Yeah.
The first girl, gets got in, the first 10 minutes with a very...
What was her name? Caroline?
I think so.
Harrison?
She gets
the plastic wrap.
Yeah, and it's on the poster, and it's a very effective, chilling, terror, frozen rigor mortis terror face with her face wrapped in plastic. It's I understand why they would use that for the poster, because it's a good visual.
Yeah. I don't know how no one thinks to look.
In the attic?
In the attic.
Not even the police. At the end, you would think the police would search every inch of that.
Every inch, especially since shit goes down in the basement. They're well, what's above the house? I don't know, maybe the attic. This was the one. This was the major problem I had with the thinking. I get it, they're Canadian, but still, that they.
We never had to look up in the attic before.
Yeah, You should look. Just look.
Everywhere.
Look, especially if there is a window into the room, you should probably look.
Yeah.
And it was a thing want to be this isn't even like a plot hole type of thing. It's not like, well, how do you explain that many Spider-Men at once? You know, it's like this is just a moment of pure, simple police.
Yeah,
work.
there's that sergeant who's completely incompetent.
Oh my God, you're really like your sergeant or whatever tells you don't fuck it up.
Even
in that language.
It's not even that. It started with the goddamn phone number.
Oh my God, you are you telling me? Like, I get it. Again, they're Canadian, but he doesn't know what fellatio is,
And he thinks it's a part of the phone number.
like, oh my God.
He's worse than Trump Cop.
Like, he's bad. He's really bad. And I guess there are I don't want to say bad things, but I don't understand a lot of the things that are in this movie because, you know, on one hand, Barb, Margot Kidder, who's, I don't know what this says about me, but like in undergrad is like absolutely the woman that I dated or like tried to date as often as possible. I don't understand, like, her drinking is so exaggerated.
It's because he's upset that I guess her mom's she has a boyfriend and she's not happy.
Well, it's like it's not even so much that she can't hold her liquor because that's everyone in undergrad. But it's more like I don't understand how that's out in the open as much as it is, and then the house mother.
She's got so many
has
bottles.
To hide these terrible bottles of whiskey. Like who gives a shit that you're drinking?
I was like questioning that too, because
it's not even funny.
Everyone's drinking.
Everyone's drinking.
Just put it on the bar.
And like, if you're worried about the example that you're setting to these girls, clearly Caroline has a poster of two people fucking in a peace sign. Like, these girls, like they're adults.
It's the 70s, you know.
They're adults, and she's like, "Oh, I have to sneak off for a little nip of whiskey.
I can't let them know I'm an alcoholic."
Yeah,
lady.
She's a fucking clown. She looks like a clown the entire movie, and then she's dead, and she looks like a dead clown.
Hook on a hook.
Yeah,
everyone in this building. It just
really bothered me. It's just like we're taking so much time to address the house mother having a drinking habit that she wants to keep secret, even though fucking Margot Kidder is slamming them down in a police station.
Yes.
Like, this girl is opening up a can of beer that she had on her in a police station.
It's the 70s, like I said. No one cares.
She doesn't.
I'm pretty sure she was slightly drunk when she got there.
Yeah. I think she's drunk the entire movie.
Yeah.
You never see her without a drink in her hand.
Hey, finals is hard, man.
No, I totally get it. Like, believe me. Like, I'm not saying she's not wrong for drinking. I really don't like the way that she's judged for it, because she shouldn't be. Like, as a college student, right. Let her drink.
It's not the worst she can do.
Yeah, and it just, I guess, like, it bothers me because it's inconsistent. Because, like, we're still talking about, you know, like this is setting up the trope for slashers.
Yeah.
By also carrying on the trope that, you know, is one of the characteristics of horror movies, where like young people and especially young women are punished for certain
acts, deeds, drinking, sex. There's no sex in this one, though, if I don't remember.
Well, there was
going to be.
Well, with Olivia Hussey's pregnant.
Right.
Yeah, so like there was, like,
but it's not shown.
Yeah, it's not shown, but it was it happened.
Yeah.
You know, and people are punished for things that they do that go against the grain. of whatever norm is set in motion.
Yeah, like
for-
societal norms.
yeah,
Like, don't
for-
do this.
for young
don't do
people.
yeah.
But I just really like it. I don't know. It felt kind of lame for for Barb to be drinking, and it be this like great moral sin
Right.
when their behaviors of other people.
I mean, the film literally opens with a Christmas party where you're expected, not you are expected to drink, where there's drinks expected.
Yeah. When Barb answers the phone, she has a glass.
Yeah.
With whiskey in her hand. And yeah, I didn't get that. And I also, I think the biggest thing that bothered me, as opposed, in addition to like, why didn't you just check every room?
Mm-hmm.
This is in all types of critique. And nobody in this movie knows how to curse. Nobody at any point says, fuck, shit, cunt.
Besides Billy.
Even then, like, it just, none of it comes across as natural.
Oh, okay.
Like, nobody knows how to say any of these words. Every time, like, the house mother says, goddamn, it's like, did you just learn what this word is? Like, anytime someone says anything that would be described as vulgar by anyone.
Well, you have to understand this is the first slasher.
No, but even just like as people, like
I know.
as like they should, like, these are adults, like you should know all. I mean, more importantly, like you're an actor, like you know how to say these words.
Right.
These words did not just come about. Like, we're not talking of like, oh man, did you hear the way that they said jive turkey or something like that? It's like, okay, I get it. Like, you're Canadian and it's the early 70s and you haven't got there yet. I get it. No, it's like you don't know how to say goddamn. Like, you don't know how to say any of
They're
these
Canadian.
things.
They don't swear. That's the
Yeah,
problem. This
but-
is the first time they were learned and taught.
Then if that's the case, then this entire thing should have been aborted. Like, I really did not have it. Like, at one point, I thought about doing something that I never think about doing, only in the most dire of situations. And I honestly thought about just fast forwarding. And it's something, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I'm going to be a hypocrite because
Right.
my dad does that with things that he doesn't like. And I always tell him, but you're going to miss the movie. And it's like, but you're missing out. Like, you're doing a disservice. And then this happened. And I was just like, man, if I had paid for this, I would have walked out.
There's several things that we can put blame onto. We can blame that, yes, it's a prototype of the genre. It's the first really of its kind.
Even as not. Like, even like regardless of genre, just as like a movie that is clearly trying to disturb people.
Right. I think disturbance-wise, it does a pretty good job with the phone calls. And honestly, like, that red eye's pretty chilling. At least I thought. Because imagine seeing that in the dark.
When you can imagine not seeing it? When a police officer tells you that there's a fucking serial killer in your house and you need to leave.
Yeah, but it's the fact that red eyes pupils aren't natural.
No, but I'm just saying, when Jess at the end.
Well, that's because Sergeant Incompetent was on.
No, but he told her. Like,
he fucked it up.
No, but he told her that there was a killer in the house, and she grabs a.
Yeah, I know.
She was literally in front of the door.
She was trying to save her friends.
Who didn't respond to her blood curdling yells for their answer.
Yeah.
For like 5 or 6 times, it seemed, if not more. Just like Barb is not, like, I don't care how drunk she is. There's no way anyone sleeps through what Olivia Hussey did in that moment.
Well, apparently the walls are super thick because
apparently the walls are so thick that you could be right there in the attic. Also, how is there a phone in there?
I know he may have stuck it to another room, but I was gonna mention the phone. Like, these walls must be so thick that he can yell in the
You're like,
phone
blah, blah, blah,
and
blah,
no
blah.
one can hear
And
it.
nobody, and they're like, wow, this must be coming from somewhere
Yes.
else in Canada. You know, and it's things. I guess my problem is that there are little things that could have not even been addressed. Again, this isn't even like a plot hole thing. It's just, this is like pure basic logic where nobody thought to address. Of like, while they're making the movie, while they're writing the movie, of, you know, why, you know, what's his name? Roy Moore, who wrote the script. Like, you would just think like, well, you know what would make perfect sense for a college-educated young woman who's smart enough to not have a child with Captain fucking Crazy Pants over there, who can't play the piano without, you know, these three judgy sentinels, just being, you know, like, I can't play postmodern classical music correctly, even though it sounds like this, da 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 da.
Yeah, but he was stressed because of the baby situation.
No. I'm just saying, like, you know, that you're about to have his baby. Of course, you would get rid of it, because who wants to tie themselves to that?
To a man who was like, I'm going to quit undergrad or grad, and we're just gonna move away somewhere.
Yeah, I think what's even worse is I'm pretty sure that he was like a PhD student, because there's that line. I've been living in the same house for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's about as long as he would be in grad school.
And I'm just like, yeah, you messed up your recital, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And like,
but he's like, no, honey, throw away all your ambitions and dreams. We're going to San Antonio. We're gonna sell used cars.
Like, you are smart enough to make a decision that will help get you out of a situation that you don't want to be in. But yet you are in front of a door, and you don't just leave. And it's like I'm sorry, this is like, what is this? Is this like Samuel Beckett? Like, you can't just walk out? Like, you're stuck there? And like, I don't know. I guess it just, the thing that, it really just bothers me that they make college kids look so dumb. Like, none of them make a smart decision at any point in time.
Why are you shocked? It's a slasher, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but that idea doesn't exist yet. Like, it's not something that it could brand itself as.
They took all the bad bits of a slasher and just kept it all. The dumb teenagers.
It's just like, it's unfortunate that.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get to Halloween. They also make dumb decisions.
Yeah, but they're at least high school kids.
Fair.
You know,
fair enough.
High school kids can make all the dumb decisions they want.
They are allowed.
Because they don't have the excuse of, like, alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
They have weed.
Yeah, I just really. So, yeah. Anyway, this genre that, like, there's no way that it could be conscious of making. Like, I don't think anyone begins something like this or begins anything and is like, you know what this is going to be? The beginning of something. Like,
this is going to be a slasher, and they're produced like, what's a slasher?
Yeah, they're like, they don't even know what serial killers are.
No, not yet.
Yeah, so
it's going to be another
couple of years.
Yeah, 6, 5.
Yeah,
early 80s.
And so there's just this inability to have like a firm understanding of the genre outside of horror. So like it's not existing as something in a subgenre,
right?
That we have the benefit of looking at it under that
and years of other slashers coming after it.
You know, I mean,
and you have the thing of like, yes, it's like a new genre, but it's almost not, because if you look at some of the older monster movies, like the sequels to The Mummy or Frankenstein, like it's just what you take the sophistication of the first film,
Yeah.
and then it just becomes booga booga monster,
Yeah.
just killing people left and right.
Exactly. And I guess this is also where the movie becomes more interesting to me, is based on what did inspire it, like what kind of context it actually
Yeah.
did take. So one of them is kind of obvious, I guess. Yeah, like the urban legend of the
call,
babysitter.
the call came from inside the house.
Yeah, the
I-
babysitter and the man upstairs.
I don't know if this is the first instance of the urban legend being used in a film, but it sure would be used in a lot of other films.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was inspired by just the urban legend or by this film in general. Because I
Probably
can
both.
Yeah, because I can see like the building blocks of what would become like Scream,
Yeah.
or there was that other one in like the early 2000s that was really popular of like woman actually being a babysitter, and
Yeah.
the phone was like check on your kids or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't remember what it was called.
I don't know. So we have that.
Yeah.
We have that urban legend. But then there are these two killers, because we can't call them serial killers.
Not yet.
One of them definitely we can't. But the other like probably would be considered one.
Mhm.
But can't. And so the one that was like right before, probably because this is Canada, that these kinds of things stick out a hell of a lot more than they would here. But there was the case of Wayne Clifford Bowden. They called him the vampire rapist
Okay.
because so he killed 4 women, all of them by strangulation, between 1969 and 1971. And these women, this was in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
These women, 2 of them were 20 years old, 1 was 24, and the oldest was 33. They called him the vampire rapist because he bit the breast of each of these women, like
Okay.
left a bite mark. And they got him, and he died in jail, like about 10 years or
Okay.
about 15 years ago.
Good for him.
Yeah. So there was that. So that was one of the
Inspirations.
one of the inspirations. And the one that comes up the most is the case of George Webster, which is, I think, where the really disturbing part of like the in the house kind of like, I think this is where that came in, because George Webster was a 14-year-old
Oh God.
who killed his mother with a baseball bat, and then he tried to kill the rest of his family before they like got out. But this happened in
1943.
Yes, and this was in Westmount or Westmont. I don't know how.
I
Canadians-
think it's the neighborhood.
That's right next to
It's college.
It's the city that's right next to Montreal.
Okay.
There's like downtown Montreal, and then like to the left of that, I believe, is Westmount. So again, like, it being Montreal, being Canada in 1943, this is probably going to stick out for a bit. Also, it's a 14-year-old killing his mother with a baseball bat. Like, that's...
Yeah, I knew of the
It's
incident.
terrifying.
I just didn't know he was 14.
Yeah.
That's young
Yeah.
to do that.
And so both of these would kind of, mixed with the urban legend, and then you add the influence of Psycho.
Yep.
All kind of comes together. And I guess, like, looking at the origin of the slasher genre, in addition to Black Christmas, probably, I mean, like, in addition to The Exorcist, like, my favorite horror movie, was released like a week before Black Christmas. That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so, like, you have both of these displaying very different, a couple of, like, very different dimensions to the slasher.
Yeah.
And then a couple of like, similar things, the Final Girl, like that kind of stuff.
Final Girl, the deranged killer.
Yeah, exactly. The sexual deviant nature to the killer. And then that would kind of be it. And then by the time we get Halloween, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like it's very much like it is in effect. And then obviously we all know what the early 80s look like.
Then the slasher genre will drown the 80s in films.
Like, it really, really it just explodes.
Yeah.
Like it is hard to think of another genre in film, let alone in anything else, that takes off.
This dominates for like a decade.
Yeah. And is still running. Like it's still going strong. Like we're not talking the genre of like the teen beach party film. That lasts for like 5 or 6 years,
right.
And there's like 9 of them. There's more entries in Halloween as a franchise than there are in beach party movies as a genre.
For better and for worse.
Exactly. And so, like we can see the things that that Black Christmas offers that I think other movies would do better.
Yep.
Like the point of view shots. It is interesting to see that in Black Christmas, where Billy breaks into the house, and it's the first time we see it, and it's like, okay. And then I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that, if there was going to continue to be point of view shots, and thankfully there were. Sometimes they were effective. Other times it was just like, I didn't need to see that.
Sometimes with the point of view shots, they kind of drag.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Because I think a lot of things in the movie just kind of drag.
Yeah, the film's surprisingly like
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just,
and it's only like 10 minutes longer than Halloween.
Yeah. But like they're just things like, okay, with like Caroline's father, his very judgmental take on the house mother, it's like what is this doing?
Yeah.
Like,
it's helping to establish a character for her to be killed 5 minutes later.
Yeah, and it's just like, really, we don't need it.
We didn't really need her.
No, we didn't. I honestly have never seen a sorority house portrayed with a house mother that was a middle-aged woman. If anything, it's usually just like a senior.
Right.
Maybe
she's still in college.
Hey, I'm all for adult education. You meet a lot of wonderful people, but that's a little, I can't see that.
I think the surprising thing for me was when the film opened and you had like 10, 15 girls. I'm like, oh, we just got to get a bloodbath?
See, that's what happens in Sorority Babe Massacre.
When's that one come out?
In the 80s.
Okay. Of course.
That's like the late 80s.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, so much better. So much better because it's fun. At least it's fun, And I get it. I was reading. I was like, maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I
think it's just because we've seen in the past so many other slashers, and they do become goofy and fun, and that's what we expect. That's kind of what we want.
But no, I mean, like, I'm all for again. Like, I fucking love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's nothing fun and goofy about that. Like that to me is disturbing.
Yes.
Seeing household objects made of body parts, to me that's disturbing. Not that Black Christmas isn't, with some of the phone calls.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, like, I get it. You can very easily just hang up the phone. Like, you don't have to listen
you really
to these things. And what's crazy, I'm not even gonna, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But like, okay. Like, I went to Reddit.
Okay.
And I was reading people's reactions to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have thought that, like, hermaphrodite Jesus had come off the cross and had said, children, this is my favorite horror movie. And they were like, yes, Yes, Jesus, we love this too.
It's because it's the first, and
You
they have to
know,
put it on the pedestal.
I don't understand why, like, being the first, that's not always the best, or that's not always like a great thing.
Or it's that thing where it's it's a classic. It's an old classic.
I guess, but I am absolutely perplexed. And
I mean, I liked it fair enough. I'm not calling it the greatest horror movie ever made.
man, there were a lot of people that were like, "This is one of the greatest horror movies ever made." And like, honestly, like if you enjoy it,
They say
like,
that
enjoy
for
it.
every horror movie.
I know, but I'm thankful for what it helped to bring about,
Yes.
because Halloween is one of my favorites, and I really, really, really love Halloween. I love the simplicity of it.
I was just about to say, like, what makes Halloween work in every aspect.
Yeah,
The music, simple but effective.
it's just it's a minimal,
The shots,
Yeah.
simple but effective.
man. So I will trade 1,000 Billy tirades in the phone
Uh-huh.
for the one shot of Michael Myers behind a bush.
No, it's what it is for me. It's the shot where Laura's in front of the closet and you can just see his face and him slowly come out.
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, we can end it right there. It's just like Halloween, great. Black Christmas, not so much.
It's gonna be
But
the shortest
episode
one.
one.
Visceral reactions.
There's a lot. Like, there's a lot going on, and if you were wondering, oh, maybe this will be an episode where, I don't know, the Cold War doesn't come up.
Guess what?
You're wrong, but not in the way you might think. So in like trying to come up with an interesting angle
Uh-huh.
for Halloween, in thinking about Black Christmas, of like reading about the babysitter urban legend, and then thinking about, well, I mean, how can you talk about Halloween? We're not talking about babysitters,
Right.
because right there in the beginning, babysitter just hack, murdered. And so I was like, you know what? What was it like to be a babysitter in the 70s? What was it like to need a babysitter in the 70s? And that's where I found some fun stuff. Not fun for families, but fun for governments trying to not take care of families.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Because in 1971, there was the Comprehensive Child Development Act, which would establish this network of federally subsidized daycare programs. And at first, Richard Nixon, very much behind it.
Uh-huh.
But then, this is at like a very important moment in which the development of children, like any research into that, was given a lot of funding, and there are all of these breakthroughs in like understanding child psychology, child education, like all of this. But then this is a real villain. Like, this is like a son of a bitch who's like even worse than, Billy. We've got Pat Buchanan, who is a advisor in the White House, and he went to the Soviet Union for a little over 2 weeks. I believe he went for 18 days.
But only Nixon can go to the Soviet Union.
Well, Nixon, this was not far from when he would go to China.
Right.
Pat Buchanan went to the Soviet Union.
Why did he go to the Soviet Union?
Because he wanted to see how people were living. And one of the things that he did was he went to a school. And at this school, he saw like a bunch of 5 and 6 year olds pretty much like chanting like Leninist slogans. And he'd lost his mind.
How is it any different from us forcing kids to do Pledge of Allegiance every morning?
Because that's not American.
Oh, okay.
Like, Leninist slogans are not American.
I
like,
understand.
we can't have all of this like communist mumbo jumbo. And so Pat Buchanan comes back and he tells Nixon, you can't go through with the child Development Act, they will make Soviet monsters of these children.
How?
Because people on the right who were not a fan of, a large federal spending bill, they were like, Nixon, they're like, Dick, like you can't sign this because this is a huge spending bill for what? Like to take care of a bunch of poor kids, which is literally what it's doing. And they're like, you can't do it. And when Buchanan comes back, we're getting closer to re-election time, and a lot of people on the right are not supporting it because it's a lot of money setting up programs that would be utilized by, in their mind, predominantly black families, even though the majority of people who would qualify for it would be predominantly white, because that's just how numbers work.
Dick, if you pass this bill to take care of the children are gonna become communists. We can't have that.
Yeah,
I'm doing it for the kiddies.
Yeah, and so they got him to veto it, and once that happened, it never, like the funding of childcare would continuously be an uphill battle. Whereas, like, if that had gone through, things would, who knows what would happen.
I know. Who knows what today would be like.
Yeah, because we would have a lot more families. And it's because of this bill that a lot of mothers would have to work multiple jobs.
Yep.
Because we would get to a point where today it's very possible, and in more cases than not, it's very likely that the average family is spending more in childcare than they would for in-state college tuition.
That's why, like, kids our age aren't having kids.
Yeah, because it's too fucking expensive.
Yes.
To think that you could say, well, I could put myself through college for a year, or I could pay for someone else to take care of my child for like part of the year.
Yeah.
And so that's the context essentially that we go into Halloween, where babysitting is a profession. It's a career. Not even that. What am I saying? It's employment.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I mean, there's au pairs.
Yeah.
That's
but
professional.
like the primary babysitter
market.
Yeah.
Are teenagers.
They're teenagers, and unfortunately it's like this double-edged sword, whereas it's a way for middle class, typically white girls to find employment while they're still in school and save money. It's unfortunately also a way for people to kind of like make sure that these girls are not going out and that they're not getting jobs outside of the home.
Oh, no.
And it's kind of preparing them for motherhood.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so it's like it's that, but at the same time, like they have a little bit more financial autonomy because now they have extra cash, so that maybe next weekend they don't have to ask their parents to borrow the car because they've saved up enough money to buy one. Who knows? Whatever. It's the moment that opens the film where we have a babysitter.
I always thought it was Michael's sister.
She is babysitting,
I guess.
right? Yeah.
Technically, but it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just dumb. It's still Michael's sister, but she's babysitting young Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. No, you're not dumb for that. I guess it all depends on what angle you want to, like what you want to emphasize. I mean, obviously him killing his sister is terrible.
Spoilers.
Yeah. But she's there
right
in the first place because she's babysitting him. Yeah. And theory is that the reason why he kills her is because she was probably like having sex with her boyfriend at some point, and he saw it.
I mean, theory, that did happen.
Yeah, well, there you go. You know, well, as far as like the reasoning, like those are the events that we see, but in terms of what's in Michael's mind,
Yeah, Michael's like 6. He doesn't know what sex is.
Yeah, who knows?
This is 1963.
Yeah, so
Which is interesting to think about, that in like 24 days, Kennedy would get got.
yeah, and I hate the movie for taking away that rationale for me, because I can't even say, oh, well, you know, Michael is clearly fucked up because Kennedy was assassinated. No, I don't get that. I don't get it. I can't take it that route. So I guess we're just gonna have to go with, like, he was mad that his sister's attention was not placed on him.
You were supposed to give me Halloween candy. Stab.
Yeah. And
just imagine, like, for some reason, a White House worker just phones Kennedy like, a kid killed his sister. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I have to go to Dallas in 2 weeks. I don't have time for this.
And
just like in Black Christmas, it starts with the POV shot, which it feels smoother.
Yeah.
Even though the arm reaching for things is a bit wonky.
Yeah. And like after 1976 is when the Steadicam is invented and like put into use.
Yeah.
I think Bound for Glory was the first one to do it. And which is why, like, by the time we get to The Shining, those shots are of Danny's trike.
Viking.
Yeah, is able to happen.
Seamless.
So I think it, if I'm not mistaken, that, the Steadicam is used for Halloween. And
you get like what I would consider one of the 2 like surprise twists of the film when you find out this person who just stabbed
it's a child.
It's a 6-year-old child.
Yeah. This is just another example of these horror movies taking the family unit.
Yep, and ripping it apart.
Just like demolishing it. Similar to the George Webster case with Black Christmas, but this is even worse. I mean, instead of a 14-year-old, like, this is a 6-year-old.
It's a child who has just learned about Sesame. I don't think Sesame Street came out yet.
No, Sesame Street was 1969.
This is like, I don't know. He's in like kindergarten. He's in 1st grade.
Yeah.
If he hadn't killed his sister, he would have learned that Kennedy got shot in like 3 weeks.
Then he really would have been messed up.
It could have been me.
At least one of them dodged that bullet. Yeah. But I wonder, when it comes to defending yourself from a 6-year-old with a knife.
You could take that child.
Now, like, because this is the reason why I don't watch the Chucky movies, right? Or movies where like kids are a threat.
Because you can just punt them.
Yeah, just punt them. Like,
punch them in the face.
Like,
I could beat up a child.
Right?
That's taken out of context.
Like, I mean, all of us can beat up a child, right?
Right.
Like, so I just wonder, and like, this is like the only thing in the movie where I kind of like stop. Is, couldn't you just like take him out?
Push him, shove him?
Yeah. I get it. It's a knife that you're probably like, oh, like, this is my 6-year-old brother. Why does he have a knife?
Maybe she was still like in the shock that he saw her naked. And she's like, Michael, and then flap.
But I also wonder, what kind of strength does a 6-year-old have
to shove a knife through flesh and bone?
Yeah, that would kill you.
Well, he stabbed multiple times. He even looked at his hand doing it.
Yeah, but like, would it work?
He's got the devil in him.
All right, we're going to need the Mythbusters to get on this, because I need to know.
We need you to come back for a reunion special to like make a hydraulic robot arm with the strength of a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And stab a ballistic dummy.
Or like get like, like a pig carcass.
Yep.
Their skin's kind of the same.
Yep.
Like, I just want to know how. Because I'll buy literally everything else in the movie. Like, I will buy it. Like, is he the embodiment of evil? Sure. Why the hell not? But can a 6-year-old stab someone?
I mean, maybe just Michael was always unnaturally strong.
Well,
He shoved the guy with the glasses, like, made him get stuck on the cabinet wall. And he's only like 21.
yeah.
It's still weird that Michael's 21.
I never thought. I don't think I ever really thought about how young or how he is not old.
Yeah.
In these movies. I guess because I think about the longevity of the character more than I think of the person being in age. But yeah, so yeah, if you're 6 in 1963 and then 15 years later,
21?
you are 21. Maybe if
He's
someone had
just old enough, he can drink now.
he could drink. If someone had just taken him out for a drink, maybe he would have calmed down.
Right.
But no. And instead, what happens is Michael Myers pretty much just ruins this perfectly innocent holiday.
This wonderful, totally not California Halloween.
Yeah. For everyone.
You know it's not California because they got leaves.
They do have leaves.
The same, 100 leaves that they have to hurry up and put in a plastic bag so they can use for other scenes.
Which is hilarious because in Black Christmas, they had to do that with snow.
Did they?
Yeah.
Haha.
In a lot of those scenes, it's not even real snow. It's not even it's this weird foam material, almost like shaving cream that they had to manufacture because, would you believe it or not, in Canada there was a winter where they didn't have enough snow.
That's impossible.
Right? Maybe early sign of global warming, who knows? And then in Halloween, we don't have enough leaves.
Well, I don't know why they bothered filming it in summer. Just wait for fall. Wait.
I don't think with California, I don't think it would have mattered.
Oh.
Because, it's pretty temperate, the entire...
I guess they didn't have the budget into $300,000
to go somewhere else with their leaves.
Let's be honest. They spent most of that money on the cameras and Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do when you have at the time, considered to be a schlocky horror movie.
Yeah.
You get a famous British actor. Or even a low-budget film. You just get a famous British actor to give longevity and cadence to it.
And, man... Dr. Loomis does it. It's funny thinking of him as the hero in the movie.
Yeah. He doesn't do much.
He doesn't. And he's also kind of responsible because I guess anyone else, if they would have just left him alone and not tried to rehabilitate him when he hasn't, spoken or done anything for 15 years. Maybe you just leave the kid alone. Maybe there's some stones that can't be unturned. Yeah.
Some poop that can't be polished.
Exactly. And instead we get something that to me has always been truly terrifying. I guess for the same reasons that people seem to love Black Christmas for not explaining anything. I really love Halloween because Michael Myers as a threat can't be stopped.
He doesn't have a motive.
Yeah.
There's hardly any backstory for him.
Yeah.
It's just the ramifications and incidents that happen for him to imprint himself on Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
The answer is she was just there.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. The same thing with Billy and Black Christmas. Why the sorority? Why these girls?
They're there.
They were there.
Yeah. And
it's that line from The Strangers.
Oh, because you were home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
oh my God. That's yeah.
That this type of thinking of
yeah. The girls why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you torturing us? And yeah, one of the strangers is just because you were home.
And it's the complete opposite.
It's the randomness.
Yeah, it's what we talking about, the reap what you sow and don't mess with things you don't understand. Why did this happen? Because you exist.
Yeah. I mean, that is, again, like,
You did nothing wrong and still you're punished.
that is Hitchcock's philosophy, like, to
Yep.
the extreme. Like, that's why the fucking birds happen. Like, that's why Marion Crane gets, just banana murdered in Psycho. It's like, because, like, she just happened to stop at the wrong motel.
Yeah.
And with Halloween, it's really, I think, something to be said for how something really simple can just change everything.
Yeah, because there's no sweeping shots.
No.
It's all like still frames and just small sweeps, and like that's it. All you need is like less is more.
Yeah.
We've discussed that with Jaws. Like,
exactly. To think that a character, this was something I learned. The William Shatner mask was $1.98.
Well, they had no budget.
Yeah.
They just have to find like, oh, here's this, like Star Trek mask. We'll paint it white. We'll like take off the pointed sideburns. We'll open up the holes again, and you have like a very effective, emotionless blank face.
Yeah, and it really, it's always fun to not hear him referred to as the Shape, but to see that in the credits.
Yeah.
And
because even like the film knows that Michael is not a human being. He's something else.
Everyone in the movie might understand him as Michael, but like that's not who's there. Like not really.
Maybe Michael was never there.
Yeah. And he is just a shape.
Yeah.
And like, to me, that's part of what makes him so terrifying, is just this inhumanity. Like, it's not even like an inhumanity. Like you said, like, who knows if it was even there.
Yeah.
And I think how that ties into the idea that on Halloween, evil can just
Rome.
do what it wants.
Well, it's going back to, I think it's called Samhain. There used to be, I'm probably mispronouncing it. It used to be what
that pagan ritual.
Ancient Celtics used to, like, that was their new year around Halloween.
Yeah.
They would have the harvest and they would celebrate, and they believe that on that day, on Halloween, is when the barrier between our world and the spirit world is weakened, and spirits and ghosts are able to walk the earth for a day, and they would like wear costumes to ward them off and things like that, and build bonfires to ward off evil spirits.
And the film just runs with that.
Yeah.
And
is it the boogeyman?
Yeah.
Was that the boogeyman?
Like, I love it. It's amazing that even in just the first film, the very mythical status that Michael Myers has acquired, like, now is so apparent and present then. It doesn't take, 15 movies for Michael to become the thing that is so terrifying. Like that always was their status.
It was always there, maybe not with like the teenagers, but with the older adults who like remember, maybe they were kids at that time. It's like, the young Myers boy, I remember.
Yeah. And just the idea of using him to give shape to the boogeyman is fantastic. Like, it's just really cool.
It's interesting that in regards to both Black Christmas and Halloween, it's sequels and remakes would little by little destroy all that.
Yeah.
Because you got the weird Cult of Thorns where they were planning on this from like the beginning, and they made Michael what it is. And I think the remake of Black Christmas that came out in the 80s, I think they gave like Billy like a backstory and all that. And so the mythos of these faceless killers are kind of diminished as you go on through the so-called franchises of them.
And when you provide a reason, when you provide a face to the name, you
lose that mystery. And
because you explain it.
Yeah.
And
I don't need to know.
And I think that's one of the key differences between like horror in the 70s and horror in the 80s is that you have less examples of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Like you get far fewer the thing endings
Yep.
and more like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what happened and that's exactly how we end it. You know, and
You still get like, you always get twist endings or
Yeah.
the cliffhangers and things like that. Like, I think almost every Friday the 13th, or a lot of them, was always like, we save the day, oh, pop, ooh, Jason out of the like window or in the lake and
Yeah.
things like that. But then you have both Black Christmas and Halloween with very ambiguous endings.
Yeah.
Because in Black Christmas, they thought Peter was the guy making the phone calls and killing, and like the police come and she's in the bed resting, and then the camera pans and you hear the rain's like psychobabble coming from the attic again with the two bodies still up there.
Yeah.
Because they didn't check. And then you have the very simple. I know I'm trying not to show bias, but we showed enough bias already for Black Christmas.
Yeah.
You have the very simple of Loomis shoots him. He does the weird like shimmy arm thing as he falls off the balcony.
Uh-huh.
Camera shows him, his body laying there. Loomis checks on Laurie, comes back, body gone.
Yep. And then and right there for number 2 to pick up immediately
Yeah.
after, which is I think whenever that's done right, that's always such a cool feeling, or it's such a cool thing to witness of when a sequel is like, all right, we know that you wanted to know what happened right after, so we're gonna show
I
it.
always love sequels, or even like a sequence of films, a trilogy or whatever. It's a saga that's like takes place seconds after like. I know this is somewhat deviating from the horror genre, but the John Wick franchise, it's like literally each film, opening and ending with each subsequent one, takes place like seconds after the other.
It just does something. It helps build that continuity.
Yeah, like but it's just fascinating to have like these 3 or 4 films like in a whole, like it took 5 years to make them all.
Yeah.
But like the setting of it is like a single day.
Yeah.
There's something fascinating about that.
And with Halloween, I think even if there had not been any sequels, which I don't even know what that world looks like.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's the obvious they were going to make it an anthology franchise because that's how you get Season of the Witch. And of course, people hated it.
Yeah.
But now people really love it because it's like a compelling horror movie.
Yeah.
It's a bit out there, but it's a compelling horror movie. But they were like, that was the plan because you have like the story of Halloween 2, which Halloween 2 wasn't really supposed to be made, but they made it out of from the influence of copious amounts of alcohol and cocaine. I think it was one of the two. They wrote it, and you know, Michael blows up, and that's it. Story of Michael Myers done. And then you're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? How about we keep the Halloween as a theme, but just make it like an anthology series? And I think that's a fascinating idea to do that, to have like, here's a franchise of films that's a horror story taking place on Halloween. It's what I wish they did with Stranger Things, even though I love Stranger Things, is that I wish each season was a different thing, like new location, new monster, whatever.
Yeah. The anthology film is kind of like gone away.
You get that with like maybe the VHS series, or a Trick or Treat, because it's a couple of little short horror films in one that kind of have with that little sack, the little pumpkin sack boy that's throughout it.
This is gonna sound dumb, but it wasn't until putting the two in the same sentence that I realized that both of these take place on a holiday.
That was the whole point of the episode.
I know.
How are you just getting this?
Like, it somehow, like, it was like, oh, Black Christmas and Halloween. Oh, wait. Those are both holidays.
They're both holiday movies, and one created the other.
Yeah.
That was the whole bow for it.
Yeah.
It just took you till right now to figure it out.
Well, yeah. Well, like earlier today. But yeah. I was wondering, I was like, what does it mean to have a horror film set on a holiday? Like, not just these two holidays, but like any holiday. Like, what does it do for good old wholesome American values?
It bastardizes them. Because I'm sure there's slasher 4th of July films in the 80s, but probably happened like low budget schlock. I don't know if there's ever been like an Easter horror movie. I'm sure there has.
There should be. I mean, that's the perfect time to make Zombie Jesus. Like,
or I guess you could consider Night of the Lepus to be an Easter
yeah,
film.
like
Because you got rabbits.
this Easter, you'll be painting eggs with blood. You know, like stuff like that.
There's My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all slashers. Even like all the Silent Night, Deadly Night stuff, or like the Evil Santa ones.
Thanksgiving.
That's a well.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, which opens with a turkey massacring the first Thanksgiving.
God bless.
Yeah, and like I watched this in like 2009, 2008 or something like that, and like unfortunately I just remember the only thing I remember is the turkey saying to one of the like pilgrim women.
Talks?
Yeah. Oh, he talks. Yeah, because he tells one of the pilgrim women, nice tits, bitch, and then he kills her. Yeah.
Does turkeys know what?
Yeah. Well, they have breasts, so
I guess. But they don't have woman anatomy.
I don't know. I mean, they're also not supposed to talk.
That's true. Maybe you know what? Maybe I'm overthinking the Killer Turkey movie.
Like Thanksgiving. Like, yeah.
That's the thing. All these holiday horror movies that probably came out in the 80s.
Thanksgiving was like maybe 15 years ago. It was like around the time of
that
like Birdemic
and
and shit.
after, and like I think My Bloody Valentine and a remake or two, but you could probably argue. I mean, Friday the 13th, a holiday in a way. Not really, but it's a day.
Yeah.
You could, argue, especially Friday the 13th, because it is a ripoff. The creator said that straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But all the other ones, you could argue, wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Halloween, and that would have happened if it wasn't for Black Christmas.
I wonder if Halloween had been set, or if Black Christmas had been set on any other holiday, if it would have the same, you know, like that. Like there's something about the mixture of Christmas and terror,
Yeah,
that people really enjoy it, and I guess because I don't know, maybe because Christmas being
a joyful time.
yeah, and like the family time.
Yeah.
That it's like, well, what happens if that moment becomes the site of terror? Well,
was Black Christmas the first Christmas horror movie? Possibly.
I don't know. It's no Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, but that came out after.
Yeah.
Way after. I mean, I'm sure there's like horror, Rosemary's Baby has a bit of it taking place during Christmas, but you don't consider that a Christmas horror movie.
Yeah, and like I wouldn't think of it as like a New Year's one either, even though there's a very important New Year's scene.
It could just be that Black Christmas is the first like horror Christmas movie, and people are like, "Ooh, they tapped on something."
Yeah, we'll have to investigate that more.
Yes.
So I believe that's all we have for you this week.
Yeah, I think we covered a good gambit of it.
We did. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Visceral Reactions. Join us next time for a few scares and a few laughs.
Yes.
With Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and Evil Dead 2.
It's the season finale.
Yes.
Isn't that lovely?
Yes. You've made it this far, which makes you the final listener.
Good. Congratulations.
Yes. I'm Matthew Jimenez.
Hey, Lonnie. Get your ass away from there. I wanted to do something like, he got hungry, or like the blackest eyes, like the devil's eyes, or like, yes, I'm afraid he was. But no, I just want Loomis with his, Donald Pleasance with his weird American accent going, hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
Love it. So, yes, That's me.
And that's me.
And that's a wrap.
See you next time for the conclusion of the season.
Yes.
It'll be fun.
Bye.
Bye.